Hi there. This is
Hi.
Scott Marker, and this is another episode of Treasure Valley NIA Quick Tips. What it is I'm the franchise owner of an NIA franchise. I was the number 27th in the country. Now there's over 130. We're soon to be in three different countries. It's just people like me, local um, business professionals that like to get other business professionals together and help us all grow our businesses. And through that, I meet a lot of really high caliber business professionals here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho, and I like to share their information on the show. So today is a perfect example. Nathan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, hi. Thanks, Scott. My name's Nathan Thomas. I'm the founder of Peak Law, a business and estate planning law firm here in Boise. We service several different states in Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Colorado, and California.
And I know you, and I didn't know you were in all those places.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
So perfect. Uh, so like I just love kind of just you're business minded. You're a different type of attorney. I've met a lot of attorneys, a lot of great attorneys, but I just love the way you're very business minded for people and the way you help people out and stuff. Um, so what type of tools do you have to for a small business? What type of tools would you help if a small business person came to you and said, "Hey, how can you help me out?" What type of tools could you provide to them legally?
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the compliment. So let me give a little context around my answer if I
Oh yeah.
can. I spent most of my career as an in-house attorney for technology and manufacturing facilities up and down the West Coast and internationally. And through doing that, I gained a lot of insight into business operations, business practices, and those sorts of things. So it's from that perspective that my legal career, I learned to practice law. And so here we are, fast forward 20 years. Peak Law has been in business and established for quite a few years now. And so I bring that viewpoint to the answers I'm going to kind of share with you here. So for the toolkit, um, most businesses have formed themselves in some form of entity, but out of the gate, most businesses, I'd strongly recommend that they take a look at forming an entity, which could be an LLC, a subchapter S corporation, a C corp. Um, well, we see a lot as we see either business owners or CPAs who've helped them form those entities. A lot of times CPAs will help form an LLC or a corporation. However, they're doing it for strictly for tax purposes, and our the other reason for forming those entities is for liability protection. And so that's where an attorney's office can come in and provide the supplemental documents that actually make the corporation a true liability shield. And so using the LLC as an example, that would include an operating agreement, that would include corporate resolutions or LLC resolutions authorizing the members of the LLC to take certain actions. And it would include some meeting minutes. Again, don't have to be sophisticated, but they do need to exist. And a few other industry specific sort of things that we could help create. For our clients, we just create templates for a lot of these that they can use on a recurring basis so they don't have to incur ongoing fees for that sort of stuff. And then in addition to that, we take a look at your specific industry. What other things you may need? A lot of times, what a lot of people don't know is that there's an option for trademark or intellectual property protection for what they're doing. And when a lot of business owners hear that, they think about the federal trademark registry. And it's uh, it's a whole formal administrative process. It's pretty sophisticated, very powerful. But what a lot of business owners don't know is at the state level, you can file a trademark.
Mm.
And that can provide some protections at the state level that are affordable, very timely. Usually states are very quick at processing that. and allows you to defend a little bit of your trademark turf. The other things that we like to do with our clients is most businesses have a website. The terms and conditions and privacy policies on your website matter. If you're being sued as a business, or if somebody has looking at you for as a possible person who's liable, or a business that's liable in a situation, not having privacy policy, not having terms and conditions posted there can leave a business open and exposed. So there's just some categories of things. For us as a law firm, we again try to templatize all that as much as we can for our clients, so that we teach a man to fish. We're
Right.
going to put you in and empower you to be able to do some of these things for yourselves, so you're not constantly dependent on an expensive law firm, if you will,
Right.
to hit you up for fees. We're not a big fan of that. That's not a good long-term relational strategy for us. So we'd like to see you come back when you have real legal issues, but don't need maintenance things that we can teach you how to do on your own.
No, I love that, because like I said, that I can't tell you. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. This is here in Treasure Valley, Idaho, but there's a lot of people. I know a lot of people, I'm sure, that get an LLC and think, oh, I'm set, right? And then all the stuff you talked about, that's ongoing, right? You have to do it year after year. I mean, your notes and stuff like that, correct?
Yeah, they are. People view that as a huge administrative burden. You'd be surprised at how simple it can be. But by virtue of doing it, you keep the LLC liability shield intact. It's the absence of those sorts of things that any litigation attorney looks at that and says, "Oh, wow, those things are missing. I get to walk right through that LLC and right through to the personal assets of the members
No,
involved."
I love that, and that's really important. And that I love, and that's for listeners and stuff to know that most people set those things up. I guess a little bit of liability, but not. It's usually for tax purposes. They think, oh, I'm doing it for tax purposes.
Right.
Or if they do think liability, I think, oh, just because. So you just answered that question. That no,
Yeah.
it's a little, not a lot, but a little bit more detailed than that.
Yeah.
So now for a small business, like how much does something like that cost?
So again, this is where my in-house counsel, as an in-house attorney for corporations and for businesses, I was the consumer of a lot of legal. I didn't do all the legal work. I was the legal work consumer in a lot of instances, and especially for specialized work. And the thing I started to abhor was here's our billable hourly rate, and just pay us that when we're done. I had no clue. It was a blank check, and always left me very uncomfortable with. I had no handle on what my outlay was going to be financially to get this thing done, and so I started insisting upon a budgetary estimate, or even better, a flat fee.
Oh,
I can budget for a flat fee, and if I were consuming any other services in my industry, I would expect to know what I'm paying for that service. And I think the legal industry needs to catch up on that front as well. So to the best of our efforts, we either provide a very tight budgetary estimate of where we believe that this project will come in, or even better, in many of these cases, we flat fee things. An LLC formation with all of the supporting documentation
right.
would be a great example of that. If we have the handle on how many members and how complex it's going to be, I will give you an exact price, and we don't vary from that.
I love
And
that. Love that, because that's the big shocker. Not knowing. I mean, with an attorney, that's a big worry, is especially for a
yeah,
smaller business.
yeah,
How
nobody
much am I
wants to
gonna?
run a business with an open blank check to some
Yeah,
professional out there.
yeah. So no,
Nobody.
I love that, and also I love the fact. And I was talking to you before this show the other day, which I loved. Which what you were saying, a lot of times you felt that some companies had a full time attorney counsel,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And you thought in a lot of cases they didn't really need that, and so that's where
Yeah,
your model is trying to come in, where you're kind of like a
right.
fractional counsel, because someone doesn't need somebody full time. So I'm a small business, and I can't afford a full time one, so they can hire your firm
Right.
to be a fraction. So is that kind of
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we provide and have provided for years now. It's kind of an oddball concept that not a lot of people have heard of, but it's fractional in-house counsel.
yeah, see, I heard that. I hadn't heard of it before and I loved it.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we can do. So we'll be your go-to for you can pick up the phone, give us a call. We're extremely nimble and responsive on those sorts of things. You get through to us, to the attorneys, that is, very rapidly. These aren't you're not scheduling things 2-3 weeks out, and so and then we're on call, if you will. I don't know. We're still refining this message on exactly what we
Right.
call ourselves. But I think it's a novel concept. There's not a lot of law firms out there that do, I think, exactly what we do. And I've worked with a lot of law firms, and they try to put this sort of what we're doing. They try to put it in the box of hours for services. It's the traditional box, which is it has its place.
Right.
But I'm convinced that it doesn't always have to be that way. That there's a better way to do this in a more collaborative way of being a legal counsel to businesses who can't or really shouldn't have a full-time person on staff to do this sort of work.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah.
So here's something you have. A company's been going along and all of a sudden they're starting to think about, man, I need to retire. I've been saying I'm going to retire. I need to retire. So
Yeah.
right from there makes me think of exit planning, right? So how do those two things feed in? So if somebody was, thinking of retirement and they just wanted to come to you, how can you help that company out, like with that situation?
Right. Yeah. Transition planning for a business is a really big deal. There's several versions of what we call exit strategies. Obviously,
Okay.
one exit strategy is if it's a family business, is to transition it to the next generation.
Okay.
And how does the exiting party get paid out or bought off, and how that is structured? Another alternative is to sell the business. And there's a couple flavors of sale. We're doing several what are called asset sales here locally, where you sell the assets of the business. There's other sales where there's multiple members or multiple shareholders in a business, and you just want to share your piece, or excuse me, sell your piece. And how is that structured? And all of those are unique. They're handled differently. But the best thing we can offer is we can offer experience of having, I think, very comfortable saying that we've done over 200 business sales over the past several years. As far as portions of a business being sold, I couldn't count how many we've done of those. As far as membership interest or just my equity in a business. And then succession planning from a Gen 1 to Gen 2, or generational succession planning for family businesses or key employees for that matter. Like we're doing one right now where it's not a family transition, but he is transitioning ownership to his key employees, which has been a fun project to work on. They're excited. They're excited about the prospects of that. So at each one of those, what we do is we come in and it's important to get a valuation. It's important to have a clear picture of what the heck you're selling,
Right.
and to have an honest feedback on the value of what you're selling and what the market is and the timing of that. Timing's everything in the sale of a business. Same with homes, but that wisdom extends to the sale of a business and your business interests as well, and the timing of all that, as to valuation. Now, some of the best businesses out there already have this pre-scheduled. They already know what that looks like. It's been agreed to for years.
Right.
But for the rest of us who haven't done that, it is something that we want to take some time and plan for in advance. If we have a 2 or 3 year runway, that would be optimal. Then we collaborate with your CEO or whoever the business owner is. We collaborate with these CPA, and we can bring in a valuation expert. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to ramp up the value of that business over a 3 to 5 year window to maximize your value when you go to market with it. And that's a very deliberate strategy. If
Oh,
we don't,
I've heard that. I'm familiar with that, and I've heard it because kind of the analogy is someone takes their off, their off off the steering wheel because
Yeah.
they're just burned out, right? Now all of a sudden it's 3 or 4 years later, and that valuation of the company has dropped.
Right.
And now they want to sell it versus putting a post in there. Hey, coming to you, working with maybe a CPA too, and say, hey, let's put together a strategy for tax purposes, for everything, for the value of the
Right.
company, so that when we get to that 4th year, your company's looks the best and the most sellable that it's been.
Exactly.
So that's, yeah, like I said, I've heard that before, and it makes so much sense because I can just see a company owner just working and working, and then one day going, I'm tired, or forced to retire because of health reasons,
Yeah.
right?
Which
Right.
does happen. That's
Yeah.
correct.
So plan is always better. So yeah. I love that. Like I said,
A
I
little bit
agree.
of advanced planning will go a long ways financially for that individual.
Yeah.
And so I guess the last piece of the comment on that would be that, uh, and I think, also just personal planning. It's not just maximization of the value of the business. That's not the only consideration here. That person's life and the relationships in their life and that person's desires of what's going to happen post transition comes into consideration as well. And we want to talk about that and have a conversation about that as well.
Yeah. It's all that stuff. That's the reason people go to someone like you, because there's so much that people just don't think about. Right. And that
Yeah.
when they come to you, like you said, how many times you done it? Hundreds.
Right.
Pretty
Right.
soon you see patterns, you know what to do.
Scott, I'll tell you the best outcomes we've had is when we have an opportunity to collaborate with the other professionals that are working in their life, whether it's a financial planner, a CPA. We have two business valuation experts that I love working with. They're good at what they do. If we can put together a collaboration, and this does not have to break the bank.
Right.
It does not. Um, uh, but if we can collaborate and put together a really tight strategy on this, that team will pay for itself. There'll be an ROI on that team when you
Yeah.
go to exit the business.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. And here's something, wrapping this up is what, like, how do you find a great attorney? I mean,
Yeah.
Google it.
So, yeah. So having shopped for attorneys,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, uh, I initially, like a lot of people, made the mistake of jumping into business with guys that said, "Yeah, oh yeah, we can do that, and we can do everything." And no, we don't. We're good. We're solid, and I'm a one man band. That is not true. The attorneys who are best at what they do exactly what I was just saying a few minutes ago. They collaborate.
Right.
They seek out the counsel of a good CPA if that's best for your business. They seek out the counsel of other professionals in your industry and pull that knowledge into the services they're providing for you. In addition to that, they have a good internal team. We've been very picky about the attorneys we've brought on here, and they're here for a very specific purpose, and they have a particular skill set that we feel like best serves our clients. So it's not by accident. We're not just dredging the bottom of the barrel trying to figure out who will come work for us.
Right.
Um, so because we have a very specific scope of clients we're trying to address, then it gives a lot of clarity to the kind of attorneys and staff we're looking to hire. We're pretty clear about that, and I think that's important. I think that's extremely important. So picking an attorney who's clear on what they do, and more importantly, what they don't do,
Oh, okay.
is I think pretty important. If you've got a guy that's trying to be all things to everyone, that's a that's pretty tough if you're coming to him with a complex business issue. Yeah.
So, if someone's going to reach out to you, so I know, but kind of in general, what type of company um, would be a good fit for you guys? Because, like you said, you're not a fit for everybody. But what are the types of customers that would be
Yeah.
a couple? What are some examples of good fits for your firm?
Yeah. So we thrive in the space of companies. So We're currently, obviously, we're headquartered in Boise. We have obviously operations in several different states, but we're headquartered in Boise. And we, by national standard, the U.S. qualifies small businesses of a certain headcount and a certain revenue base. And I think right now the standard for the U.S. is $50 million in revenue or less. We are that addresses the lion's share of the businesses in the valley we live in, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a few
Well,
outliers. There's
there's a
some
lot of
wonderful,
small businesses here.
yeah, but I would say that, and actually that's true across the United
Yeah.
States. So the businesses we're looking for, the sweet spot for us are businesses where the owner has a pretty good sense of what he wants to achieve or she wants to achieve, where they're going with their business, and that they have uh, a, a, a viable going concern. I don't know how to describe that any differently. I'm reticent to say that we have a revenue window we operate within. That's simply not true. Uh, we have one client that is their revenue is in the north of 500 million annually.
Wow.
They don't have in-house counsel by design, and we provide that fractional counsel service for them. And so by virtue of hiring us, they're really hiring a team for that purpose, and it's worked out quite well. But we have other clients that are recent startups. They have a little bit of funding, and we're getting trademarks put in place. We're getting operating agreements put in place. We're getting copyright protection put in place, and those initial blocking and tackling sort of things that need to be in place because they've created something that now has value. And so that might be the threshold for us. If you created something that in your world has value that's worth protecting,
Huh?
it's time for us to talk.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate your time today, Nathan.
Yeah.
And if some one of the listeners wanted to reach out to your team, what would be the best way to reach out to you guys and
So there's
ladies?
two ways. You can jump on our website at www.peak-law.com and fill out the I want a consultation, and we'll get you calendared. Or you can call us at 208-278-2788 and select the option for a new client.
Awesome. Well, it's been great. This has been another episode of Treasure Valley NIA Quick Tips, and I hope the listeners gained something. I know I have. And really, if you don't have an attorney and you've been in business for a while, or you're thinking about starting a business, you really owe yourself to at least reach out to Nathan and his team, because really, for not just for your financial reasons, right? They partner with your accountants and stuff, but also for liability purposes. And nowadays, more than ever, you need to protect yourself and your business and your assets. You owe it not only to yourself, but if you have family members and loved ones, you owe it to them too. So thanks again, Nathan.
Scott, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.